Coming up on today's episode of Inside Man United, the headlines. United boss Erik ten Hag defends Bruno Fernandes after Manchester United's 1-0 win over Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup and brands social media criticism pathetic. Rumours swirl that Marcus Rashford and Erik ten Hag's relationship is at breaking point. And INEOS admire £40 million Dan Ashworth signing they can't believe United didn't go for. And former United assistant boss Eric Ramsey's parting shot to Erik ten Hag speaks volumes after staff stunned by player requests. And finally, highly thought of Manchester United wonder kid Ethan Williams, with 20 goal contributions this season, agrees to sign a new deal. All that coming up. Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Rowan Brennan. This is Inside Man United, and it's the 29th of Feb. I think it is a leap year. It only comes around once every 4 years, and nobody seems to be going out in the piss on leap years for some strange reason. But anyway, happy leap year to everyone, if that's even a thing. And it is the day after the night before, and United won 1-0 against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, and a performance that I think a lot of people weren't overly surprised with. But again, I mean, you know, we can say we have all these injuries. It was still Casemiro, Menu, Fernandes, Rashford, Garnacho, and our 90 million signing playing. A little bit of a shuffle around at the back line. But yeah, it was a bit more of the same in the first half from United. We conceded 12 shots in the first half, which is way above average than what we've been doing for a majority of the season. We're kind of averaging 17, 18 shots per game, which is second only behind Sheffield United. So it's a very, very damning statistic to be conceding more shots than the likes of Luton and Burnley and, Bournemouth, other teams that are kind of flirting with that kind of bottom 6, bottom 7 territory. And it was more the same. It was a very kind of insipid, boring, tired-looking performance. Rashford, yet again, completely ineffective, and a lot of reports saying that he looked disinterested and not very happy to be playing number 9. I'm kind of getting fucking sick of listening to this. He doesn't look happy. Fuck whether or not you look happy, man. You're getting paid 300 grand a week to play for a club that you've been connected with since you were a boy, and if you can't get yourself motivated and pull your finger out of your ass, well then, get out of here. And I think that is starting to become the resounding opinion of most Man United fans. I think people are just kind of sick of this. It's kind of like this stroppy teenager who is really intelligent, but just wants to waste their talents and act like a bit of an idiot. And it seems like that's what is going on there. Casemiro once again to the rescue. We seem to kind of get things together in the second half a little bit more. We conceded far fewer shots, only 4 shots in the second half, so 16 total, which is kind of tracking what we've been doing all season, but at least it was an improvement in the second half. We managed to try and, not leave as much space in those central areas that we did. That was quite blatantly abundant in the Fulham game. But again, a lot of running around. Bruno Fernandes was clearly a little bit targeted. They were kind of chopping at him a tiny bit. Sofian Amrabat was okay at left back, couple of early mistakes, but a pretty boring FA Cup performance. Nothing too much to write home about. I don't think there's anything for us to get excited about. I don't think there's anything for us to be overly worried about, but with Manchester City on the weekend, we will need to vastly improve the levels at which we're performing, because Manchester City will put that team to the sword. So I wouldn't care if we went at that game quite negatively, just low block, everyone behind the ball, and just have Garnacho, Antony and Rashford ready to absolutely sprint on the break. It's what Ollie did very successfully against the big teams when he knew we're not going to be able to outplay these guys, and just caught them on the break. And I think that's exactly what we're going to have to do against City. But listen, it's 1-0. Next tie, quarterfinal, Liverpool, massive game. And hopefully we'll be up for that. That's not going to be your typical FA Cup tie. There's going to be a bit of venom in that one, and I'm really looking forward to that game. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe no United fan should be looking forward to that game. But we've shown this season and last that when we're on our blow and we want to play, we can, and we can beat the very best. Like we did beat Barcelona last year, and that was a good Barcelona team. And, we need to have a little bit more faith in this team. I know it's hard to keep faith with these kind of performances. But listen, it's only one loss last week to Fulham since the beginning of 2024. We are winning ugly, but we're getting results. We're tipping along, and I don't think a huge amount of restructuring is going to be needed, but there is going to be a huge amount of players departing for various reasons. But I think there's a good core nucleus of 5 or 6, maybe even 7 players there that we can build a team around, and let's see what happens. But that's enough of the game from last night. Let's kick on in today's headlines and see what we're dealing with. All right. So to kick things off today, we're going to look at just some of the post-match press conference comments from Erik ten Hag, and he defended Bruno Fernandes. There was stuff going around Nottingham Forest social media kind of making fun of Bruno being a bit of a diver. And I think even the most ardent Bruno Fernandes supporter can't deny that he likes a bit of theatrics. Bruno Fernandes isn't that big, and he's quite continental in his approach to the game, where he goes to ground quite easily. But we've seen lots of small little players be able to kind of, rough and tumble it with the best, players like Dennis Wise, even Iniesta and Xavi and those kind of players. Like, they were able to kind of take a knock, N'Golo Kante. You don't have to be big to be able to stay on your feet and mix it with people in the midfield. Bruno does go down a little bit easily. However, he's our guy, so you got to defend him. So Ten Hag was questioned about this in the post-match press conference, and he believes the ongoing criticism of Bruno Fernandes is pathetic. He overcame a very serious injury, is what Erik ten Hag said, quote unquote, to play his part in United's 1-0 victory at Forest, setting up Casemiro's 89th winner from a free kick, which is great. It was a great set piece, and Casemiro drawing blood for the cause, which is always good to see. I think he was kind of, during the celebration, I think he was like, yeah, pointing at his head, my head's ripped open, and then it starts pissing blood afterwards. So it was quite funny to see. But listen, last minute winner in an FA Cup final is always going to be exciting. It was a pretty boring match, but listen, it's better to be on the good side of a 1-0 win. Forest looked fortunate not to be reduced to 10 men in stoppage time after Felipe grabbed Fernandez's throat. Now, this is something that I wanted to speak about, where there has been a massive double standard against United since the beginning of the season, with stuff that United have been penalised for and other teams not being penalised. Almost identical incidents. And then goals disallowed for United being allowed for other teams under, again, identical, if not worse, circumstances. And then we see Felipe grabbing Fernandez's throat. And I mean, it looked like he was kind of digging his fingers inside, getting his Adam's apple. Like, it was a pretty full-on grab. Like, it was... I don't want to over-egg it and be like, it was an assault. Like, it's a man's game, but like, you can't be grabbing a fella by the throat. Like, you do that in a pub, you're getting glassed. And, he deserved to get, a red card. And it was identical to Casemiro's last year. And Casemiro's was done as a kind of it wasn't as bad as it looked in the picture, but what your man did to Fernandes was a full-on squaring up, bang, grabbing the throat, and it wasn't good. And he was on the receiving end of plenty of robust challenges, which was true. They were targeting him, and they were trying to give him a kick. And so throughout the 90 minutes, while also being the butt of social media jokes after Saturday's loss against Fulham, where he suffered a couple of injuries, he did go down a bit easily on the edge of the box, and I did criticize him for it after that game in one of the episodes a couple of days ago. And Fulham's TikTok, not Nottingham Forest, Fulham's official TikTok account poked fun at him for appearing to feign injury, and it got Ten Hag's back up. Now listen, what else is a manager going to do? You have to defend your captain. It is, you can't not back your captain, okay? It's just the way it goes. Even if he's in the wrong, you got to dig your heels in and, batten down the hatches. So, asked about the severity of Fernandez's injury, he said, I don't want to go into that because you saw that Forest was targeting him. So I tell what he has, but it was a serious injury. There were many fouls on him. Maybe I'm a little bit too tough, but when he has the ball, they were really tight on him. There's a picture of that glorious header. Look at that ferocious face on Casemiro. Fantastic. Yeah. unlucky goalkeeper. That's hit in the back of the net. Then I see that serious media criticise him and social media is pathetic, and it can't be. He has a serious injury, but he continued to play on Saturday, and today he also fought to be part of the game, and he has a very high pain threshold. He must do, because I mean, if I was playing in this team with the way things are going, I'd have an almighty pain in my arse as well. And he's playing 60 games a year with a pain in his arse, so good for him. Last year, he did also something similar against Spurs, and in the semi-final, it shows his leadership. So yeah, it's great. A few comments on. They're talking about Ferguson and being on the brink of the sack with Robbins. That's a story that just needs to be put to bed, because it's not true. It's bollocks. He wasn't going to get the sack, but it's a nice story. But yeah, it looks like we've got Liverpool in the next round anyway. And yeah, good to see Ten Hag defending his captain in public. And even though if there's a grain of truth to the criticism, what are you going to do? You got to defend your boy. So yeah, some interesting stuff here. This is on TBR Football, but this is on every major newspaper now has an angle on this. So journalist shares what a very reliable source told him about Rashford and Erik ten Hag this weekend. So a bunch of papers. This journalist Alex Crook has been explaining what he's been hearing about Marcus Rashford's recent troubles at Manchester United in the absence of Højlund. He's been asked to play as a central striker, and God bless the 300 grand a week player. He's just not happy leading the line for his boyhood club. I mean, my heart bleeds. I'm sure they'll start a GoFundMe to pay for his therapy. Erik ten Hag isn't blessed with alternatives in the position, with Martial enduring another spell on the sidelines, of course. When speaking on TalkSport this morning, Alex Crook shared that all is not well between Rashford and the United boss, and he's not on the best of terms with Erik ten Hag. Speaking at length, Crook thought the relationship between the duo was now a big worry. He said, "I was told at the weekend from a very reliable source that they are not on the best of terms. It has been going on for a while, but I think it was exasperated by what happened in Belfast. He was dropped for the Newport FA Cup game and came straight in against Wolves, where he scored a brilliant goal from outside the area, and you think maybe this could be a turning point, and he's been awful since then. He was asked to play up front in the absence of Højlund, but it was clear in his body language that he doesn't want to be that number 9. Fuck off, man. I mean, sorry, 350 grand a week. Get on, like Ronaldo, Garnacho, when they're asked, what's your favourite position? I don't care as long as I'm on the pitch to help the team. Now, listen, this could be journalists just trying to, add a couple of extra details into this, going, oh, he hates being a striker, and oh, he's very upset. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But if it is true, go and shite, man. I mean, to be honest, it's outrageous that to be upset to be asked to lead the line when your team needs you. His lack of effort over the course of the season has been lamentable. We have an England squad about to be named. I don't think Rashford's on form should be anywhere near that squad, which is correct. I mean, Rashford should be out the door, to be honest. If this is his behaviour, if this is true, the stuff going on in Belfast, his complete lack of effort. Like even today, like, do you know when like someone start, if you're living in a share house, and someone starts cleaning and they're nearly done, and then the housemate gets up and starts kind of a bit of a token effort just to kind of be seen to be doing it, or just I don't know, but it's kind of token efforts just to kind of be seen to be doing it, but there's no real conviction behind doing it. You're kind of doing it because you think you should, or other people are looking at you, not because you should and you give it 100%. And I kind of feel like that's what Rashford is doing. Like I saw he kind of jogs towards, because he needs to be seen to be kind of maybe going in for a 50-50. He pulls out of a lot of stuff. Like he is not brave in the same way other strikers are. The same way Rooney, Suarez, Mark Hughes, other tough strikers that are not afraid to mix it and get stuck in. Rashford pulls out of stuff, and just keep an eye on him in the next few games and just see what he's like when it comes to 50-50s. He pulls out, he is afraid to get hurt, and he kind of jogs towards players. He pisses me off immensely, Marcus Rashford, and I hope we see the back of him this summer. And I'm sorry to say that, because he's a local lad, he's been at the club for a few years and he's got pucks of talent, but enough is enough. I think that's a big problem for Ten Hag. When he starts falling out with players like Rashford, he needs to patch up that relationship pretty quickly and get Rashford firing. No, he doesn't. If he's got INEOS on his back, he needs to patch up the relationship. He needs to do fuck all. Rashford needs to pull his finger out of his ass and start justifying the 300 grand a week he's getting. I'm sorry. Like, I try and just report the news, but when I just read this kind of stuff, it absolutely boils my piss. It really does. Of course, this certainly won't be music to the ears of Marcus Rashford or United. Some pundits have recently been calling for United to part ways, of course. And, all that being said, Ian Wright thought one Man United player really struggled against Fulham and ended up being targeted. And I think that was Marcus Rashford as well. So yeah, enough's enough. Pull your socks up. I know we need him now because there's no one else, but that's not a reason to be needed. And I think it's time to say goodbye, and I hope it happens. I really, really do. On next, so Dan Ashworth, on a player that he has brought to Newcastle from, I think it was from Brighton. Was it Livramento? No, Southampton. So INEOS really want to potentially grab Livramento from Newcastle. Now, he's behind Kieran Trippier. He's had a couple of injuries and things like that, but he is a good player. And United were baffled as to why they didn't go in for him when they were hemming and hawing about a right back and see him as a very good option there. There was a lot of people on Twitter I saw during the game, Dalot, he's such an underrated right back. Anyone that knows anything about the game knows that he's an absolute baller. He's one of the best right backs. Listen, he's improved and he's done a job and he's gone he's had to do more than what his job description is, trying to cover all areas of the back line and going right and going left. But let's not revise the entire season. He has been the one member who's not been injured and has been a mainstay in that defence. And while he's chipped in with a couple of goals and looked good going forward and rescued us from a couple of games and looked like a bit of a hero, he is part of one of the poorest defensive United teams I have seen in a long, long time. So this revisionism needs to just come to a screaming halt because it's absolute bullshit. Would I keep Dalot? Yes. Do I think he's an automatic starter? No. If a better right back was available in the summer, would I get one? Yeah, sure thing. Is it an area of the pitch that we need to address first? No. But would you have a fit Livramento over Dalot? There's an argument there. So we're about to see a major inquest into everything inside Manchester United. INEOS have taken football operations. We know all this. So INEOS admire Valentino Livramento. So 90 minutes. That publication now claimed that INEOS admire Newcastle United fullback Valentino Livramento. They crucially want to know exactly why United didn't look to bring him to Old Trafford last summer. Relegated with Southampton after an injury nightmare, Newcastle pounced to sign him. So they paid 32, potentially rising to 40, but Kieran Trippier has been so good, and like his stats are great, and going forward he's incredible. He's kind of he's tapered off a little bit in the last few weeks, but he is a very, very good player. And Newcastle clearly believes that Livramento has huge potential, but he just can't seem to oust Kieran Trippier at all. And goes on to say here, Ashworth loves Livramento, so there's every chance United could go in for him and give him a way out. Now, Newcastle might be loath to lose yet another asset to Manchester United. Who knows? We can understand why INEOS may be a little baffled by United's lack of interest in Livramento, talented young fullback. With Ashworth there and with him being a known fan, there's obviously going to be a connection there. The Athletic even claimed that Ashworth wanted to sign Livramento at Brighton and Hove Albion before finally signing him last summer. And it's an interesting link. There's Denzel Dumfries. We obviously had Benjamin Pavard last year as well. So there are right back links to United, but Livramento, would I be paying anywhere around 30-40 million for a right back? No. There's other areas of the pitch that need major addressing before a right back, and that would be left back. Shaw's ability to be a regular part of that team is under question. His injuries are getting more regular, and he can't be relied upon. He's missed 200 games for United since he signed. Now obviously he had that horrible injury, but 200 games, that means he's only available for half the season on average. Now, obviously, he had a season and a half where he was just out entirely, so that's going to fudge those numbers, but not a huge amount. Not a huge amount. It's not great to see. But we'll see what happens in the summer. Maybe a right back and a new left back are going to be brought in. Eric Ramsey, so this is one of the assistants for Manchester United. As some of you may know, I did report it in one of my previous episodes, has been given the full-time manager role for FC Minnesota, so he's off to the United States. And I think he was one of the youngest qualified FIFA qualified members in 2019, full qualifications, FIFA badging. Back in 2019, he's 32 now, so I think he was 28, which is very impressive and phenomenally young for someone to be fully qualified. So it goes on to say Eric Ramsey has called time in his coaching career. We know that. He's been at Old Trafford since 2021, worked alongside Ollie Ranić. We know all of this for anyone that kind of saw this before. Youngest British coach to earn his UEFA Pro license in 2019, and he's 32 now, so do the maths, 28, 29. And he goes on to say, I'm incredibly excited to be joining a club with such a strong football culture, a fantastic fan base, and a brilliant infrastructure. I've spoken a lot about the clubs. I've spoken to a lot of the club staff throughout the process, and you can't help but feel everyone's passion for moving the club forward. Now, what this paper is trying to do is say, because of his comments, this is some sort of jab at United. So I don't know whether they're getting 1 and 1 and making 5. But what this article is really trying to lean towards is that apparently after the Fulham game, a bunch of United players had requested the following day off. Now, typically on a Sunday, that is video analysis, and they do a bit of a warm down and just get them prepped for the next week's training. They don't want to kill them, especially after a game. But it is a work day, and you got to come in and, do some review. And apparently some United players really wanted the day off, which is just amazingly crazy to me. When you come off the back of a loss like that and play so badly, and Sunday is a regular working day. It's not like they were being punished and brought in to do extra laps as a result of that performance. So to ask for a regular work day off the back of playing that badly, that speaks volumes to the strength of character of some of the members of this team, and they need to be binned immediately. So his comments take on new meaning after emerged that United dressing room complained to coaches over the fact that they couldn't have the day off after Saturday's dismal home defeat by Fulham. Sundays are often spent at the Carrington Training Complex for warm downs and video analysis, like I said. So therefore, the request from players to cancel it came as quite a shock to the coaches, and Ten Hag and his team of stunned staff did not budge and made them come in as normal. So they're just saying that his comments about a proper footballing culture in America is somehow a barb at the Manchester United squad upon leaving. I think that's a bit of a stretch. However, it does lead nicely into the fact that needs to be, that's something fans need to be made aware of, that the players are requesting that kind of stuff off the back of a bad defeat. And, it's not good that's happening. So hopefully in the summer, those kind of bad actors, I suppose you could call them, will be binned, and a new breed of United players going to be brought into that club. And I personally can't wait for a large purge and cleansing of that first team squad, and hopefully some excited new young lads come in. I'd love to see more Dan Gore, Kim Walla, Joe Hugel coming back would be great. Ethan Williams getting some opportunities. Omari Forson going to be coming into the picture a little bit more, hopefully, if he signs a contract, which again isn't a foregone conclusion. Then you've got Kobbie Mainoo, Rasmus Højlund, Garnacho. There's a really, really exciting nucleus of young players that we can build around there. And, if we keep Dalot, we've got Onana. Shaw stays and he can stay fit. Fantastic. Bruno staying there, maybe gets a bit of a rest. Mason Mount comes back into the fold, can give Bruno a little bit more time to kind of maybe catch his breath and maybe fill in that number 10 role when needs be. So there is a squad there that I think can compete for the league once we get 6 or 7 valuable additions in the summer. And then finally, on a little bit of good news, I think it's good to end this episode with a little bit of good news, is one Ethan Williams. This is one of the players that a lot of people are very, very excited about. Again, we're excited about a lot of players, but there are a lot of reasons to be excited. There is a huge amount of talent coming through this youth team. So if there's one thing United have gotten right in the last 5 years, 10 years, it's their youth recruitment, because we're going to make money off the ones we don't want to keep, and there are some that we definitely want to keep. So, tip of the hat to the people involved in that. Nicky Butt, Darren Fletcher, and other players like that have been involved in that youth structure and trying to bring some of those guys through. So it goes on. It starts the article, have a steady stream of promising youngsters coming through, which is absolutely true. And another one being lined up is young whiz kid Ethan Williams, training with the first team in recent weeks. So United have moved to lock down Williams' contract, and it looks like the talented young forward, he's got 20 goals this season. Remember, United's youth team, their under-18s team is doing very well, as they're unbeaten in 15 or 16 games as well. And Ethan Williams has agreed to sign on. He's featured for both the under-18s and under-21, so he's of that kind of talent where he's not going to be stuck to one team. I mean, even with Dan Amas, 16 years of age, being drafted into the first team as a backup left back. 16 years of age, training with the team. So if you're good enough, you're old enough. And it seems he's kind of been bouncing between some of these senior teams in preparation for maybe getting a bit of a look in towards the end of the season, hopefully. In all competitions, he's got 20 goal contributions, 12 goals and 8 assists. Not too shabby, Mr. Williams. So that's a nice bit of news. It's good to be able to tie down at least one of the great players that we have coming through. And a nice way to end this segment, I think. And that is all for the major headlines today. So that is it for the news headlines today. What do we think? Yeah, I'd love to hear people's comments on the Forest game, and how you think we did. Was it an ugly, scrappy win? Were you happy to see us win ugly? Onana made some good saves as well. I think he kept us in that game. A lot of them maybe straight at him, but he dealt with the shots that he received quite well. No major injury worries as well. And I think we came through that game relatively unscathed. And I think if you ask most people, would you take a boring 1-0 with no injuries? You'd snap their hand off. So really the big question is looking ahead to that City game and how we think we're set up for that. I think it's going to be a case of damage limitation, maybe try and, sneak a 1-0, get something on the break. But our defenders are going to have a real tough time. I'd even play with 5 at the back if we could get Lindelof, Varane, and Johnny Evans as a back 3, and have Dalot and maybe Amrabat coming in off that midfield, and maybe rotating with one of those other 3 centre halves to kind of take care of the left back issues, and really just bulk up the back line and try and get our runners ready for some breakaways. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to steal something from that game. And Bruno Fernandes getting a little bit of criticism and being targeted in that Nottingham Forest game. Hopefully he comes through that without too much damage and will be fit for that City game as well. And as always, thank you very, very much for joining me. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit notification, and I will see you on the next one.